Hello and welcome back to my favorite people, and thank you very much for watching this lecture video. In this lecture, we will be talking about the amines, and we know there are compounds that technically they are initiated from ammonia, and we have a nitrogen that attached to the backbone of carbon, and nitrogen it can carry two hydrogens or less. Okay, if it is carrying two hydrogen, we will call it primary. One hydrogen, it will be secondary. And if it's attached to three carbon, in that case, it will be a tertiary group. And in all cases, nitrogen is going to have a lone pair. And because it has a lone pair, it can behave as an acid or a nucleophile. And if you replace the lone pair by another substituent, in that case, the charge on nitrogen it will be +1. So right now is 0, and if you replace it by any substituent charge, it will be +1. And as you see, amines group are really critical compounds in our body. For example, they can be used, or they use actually our body use them to regulate our heart rate, or also for motor skill and emotions, and or like we can see in medicine they use it as like a morphine to reduce the pain in patients. Now, nitrogen and nitrogen amine compound, regardless of whether it's a primary, secondary, or tertiary, it has a lone pair. And because it has a lone pair, it can behave as a base. And it will go after acidic H, and it will take the H from it, and it will turn to conjugate acid. Okay, so nitrogen does have basicity character, and the reason behind it, nitrogen, regardless of whether it's attached to hydrogen or carbon, it has higher electronegativity than hydrogen and carbon. It means it's going to pull electron density to itself. So regardless of whether carbon or hydrogen, and the electron density, it will be pointing to nitrogen, and nitrogen it will have a negative charge. That negative charge, it can be shared with hydrogen, with a hydrogen that has a positive charge from another molecule, and it will abstract or pull the hydrogen to itself. And in that case, we say nitrogen behaved as a base. Okay, or it can attack any carbon that it has a leaving group, and it will kick the leaving group out of the system, and it will run SN2 reaction. And that's going to give us a nitrogen with a positive charge. And because we started with a tertiary carbon, and if it gets involved in SN2, the charge, it will be positive, and the leaving group, it will take the 2 electron with itself, and it will have a negative charge. Okay, now I want to start technically switching or focusing on naming of amine, and I want to show you how to name them. We're gonna start with the primary amines. How do I name primary amines? And in these cases, I have nitrogen that attached to only one carbon, and the easy way to name it is just simply take the alkane, transfer it to alkyl, and after alkyl, add the amine and amine to the name. Okay, so this is gonna be ethyl. Ethyl, this is the substituent, is or sorry, the main, and alkane is it has 2 carbons, so I turn it to alkyl. It will be ethyl, and at the end, I'm gonna add amine to it. And I can repeat this one for the rest, and I go, this is iso propyl, then add amine to it. Next one is cyclic, but it doesn't matter. And still, we'll turn it to the alkyl group. We will say cyclohexane is a cyclohexane. So I go cyclohexyl, and then I add amine group, amine to the end of the name. Okay, now let's make it a bit more complicated. Now we have a chain that is made of 7 carbon, that's going to be the parent chain, and I have a nitrogen NH2 with also 2 methyl groups on the main backbone or the chain. How do I label them? I start labeling from the side that is closer to the functional group, and our functional group in this case is NH2. So we're going to start from the left side, and we're going to say on the 4th and 6th, we have 2 methyl, so I go dimethyl. And next, I can say on the second one, I have amine group, and I can say 2 heb. Okay, I'm supposed to say heptane, so I go heptane. Okay, get rid of the E and replace it by amine. Okay, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, say 4 and 6 dimethyl, and then say heptane, get rid of the E. Okay, next, say dash 2 and say amine. Okay, so in both cases, I got rid of the E and I replaced it by the amine group. The only thing I changed is position, technically the lochem. The first one, I wrote it before the heptane. Now I'm writing after the heptane. And now, do I have a stereocenter? Yes, I do. And the first one is R. The second one also is R. And this one on the second carbon. The second one is on the 4th carbon. So I can say 2R and 4R dash. And here again, 2R and 4R dash. Okay, let me practice one of them with you. I go, this is 1. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3. The 4th one is hydrogen is back. So this one will be R. And if you want to practice next one, this is going to be the first priority because this is closer to nitrogen. So you go 1, this is 2, and that one 3. 4th priority is hydrogen facing to us. This one's supposed to be S because of hydrogen that is facing to us. We will flip it to R. Okay. Now, what will happen if we have 2 or more functional groups? In that case, okay, you need to be careful about their priority. And I go OH, it will have higher priority than the amine. So we're going to say, we're going to start labeling from the side that is closer to the alcohol or the OH functional group. And I go, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the 4th one, I have the substituent, and what's the name for it? I'm going to call it amino. Next, we have 4 carbons, so it will be butane. Get rid of the E and replace it by OL, and this one will be 4-aminobutanol. Okay, next one, we have a carboxyl group and amino or amino amino group. The priority it will go to the carboxyl group, and the carboxyl group is attached to phenyl ring. That's going to be benzoic acid. And then you start labeling from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is a para position, or you can say 4. Okay. So I go 4 amino, and then I say benzoic acid, or I can say para. So I go para, and then I go amino, benzoic acid. Okay, now if NH2, okay, is the only functional group and attached to the ring, and in that case, you will have a molecule that common name for it is aniline. And you can use that one as a base and just simply say where you have other substituent attached to this molecule. So in this case, my base molecule will be aniline. Okay, this one also is aniline. Okay, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Okay, so on the 3rd one, I have a chloro. Then I say aniline. Or instead of 3, I can say meta. You can write it with M, or you can say meta. So I got M chloro, and then I say aniline. And next one, I go from here, 1, because of the NH2, and I will switch to fluoro because it's closer to the aniline. So I get 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have ethyl versus the fluoro, and ethyl will get priority. So this one will be 5 ethyl, and then 2 fluoro. And last thing, it will be aniline. Okay, now, whatever we practiced until now was primary amine. Now, what will happen if it's say like a secondary or a tertiary amine? How do we name them? If you're dealing with an easy substituent, a really basic substituent that they have common name, just simply say how many of them you have, and at the end write amine. So in this case, I have 2 ethyl. Simply I say di ethyl, and then I go amine. Next one is a tertiary. I have 3 methyl, so I go tri methyl, and then I go amine. If they are not identical, then and alphabetize them. Okay, we have propyl, methyl, and last one is ethyl. So I go ethyl, methyl, propyl. So I alphabetize them, and then I'm going to add amine to the end of the name. So this one will be ethyl, methyl, propyl, amine. Now, what will happen if you have an amino group that it has different substituents? They can be identical or not. And also you have other substituents. And hold this, sitting on a backbone that it has a good number of carbons. Okay, how do I name such a complicated molecule? Okay, first thing, you want to say that you have substituent like ethyl or methyl. Okay, and they're attached to something. I have 2 carbons. I go ethyl. Okay, remember that YL, we use them to say that is attached to somewhere. Okay, so I have ethyl and methyl, they attached to somewhere. To what? I want to say they are attached to nitrogen. Okay, here you go. So you say N-ethyl. That means you have 2 carbon attached to nitrogen. And okay, and also you have a methyl. Now, you have ethyl, methyl, and chloride. You need to alphabetize them and see which one you have to write it first. Clearly, chloride will get a priority over ethyl and ethyl over methyl. And next thing is start labeling from the side that is closer to the functional group. The functional group is the amine. So I'm going to start labeling it from the left side. And the name for this one, it will be this. Okay, we will get 2 and 2 dichloro. Next, I go N-ethyl. Next one, it will be N-methyl. Okay, now I want to say that I have 6 carbon, and also I have a functional group that is amine. So I can say this. I can say, and I can say just simply here, say dash 3, and then say dash heg. Okay, hexane, get rid of the E, replace it by amine. Okay, that's one way to write it. Okay, another way to write it, let's copy paste entire of this one. I'm gonna get rid of that. And here I will adjust this part. Simply, I say heg. I go heg, hexane, and then I say dash 3 dash amine. Okay, now if you have a stereo center, you have to mention it, and we do have a stereo center here. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3. So this one it will be S. So I go S, S. Okay. Now let's practice this example and finish the lecture here. Okay. So this one, I have two groups attached to nitrogen, and they are identical. I have ethyl versus iodo. Ethyl will get a priority over the iodo. And so the way I'm going to name this one, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I start labeling it from the right side because it's closer to nitrogen. I have amine group, so I have two identical groups attached to nitrogen. So I'm supposed to say N-ethyl, but I have two of them. And because I have two of them, I go this. N, comma, N, and then I say diethyl. Okay. N and N. Okay. You want to say you have two ethyls attached to nitrogens. Okay. Diethyl, and then say comma. Now we have on the 5th carbon, we have two iodo. So we say 5 and 5. Diiodo. And then we have 6 carbon. We will say hexen. And then we will say dash 3. Oh, sorry, 2. And then I go amine. Now, do I have a stereo center? Yes, on the 2nd carbon, I have a stereo center. And now let's assign that one. This is going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one's supposed to be S because the hydrogen is facing to us. We will flip it to R. So this one it will be, okay, R. Again, 1, 2, 3. And because hydrogen is facing to us, we'll flip it to R. So it will be N and N diethyl and 5 5 diiodo hexen, and then the dash 2 amine. And this is going to be end of this lecture, and thank you very much.